February 21st, 2017. I wrote up a new paper here. It's called Photosynthesis Without Organization in Stellar Metamorphosis. The abstract: it is hypothesized that the simplest biological reactions occur without organization in the atmosphere of a star first, as the star evolves. Organization comes after the chemical reactions take place, and they become biological as organization occurs randomly. Explanation is provided of these simple reactions, and predictions are made concerning the formation of glucose, the simple sugar, and its oxygen byproduct. In essence, this paper has to deal with the idea that you have biologists, and in your biology class they teach you, well, this is where all these reactions take place, and they always place the reaction inside of some type of organelle, some type of process, such as the Krebs cycle or the Calvin cycle, or some way of metabolizing the ingredients into workable sugars. But that's not required. When you have an object as large as a gas giant, you can make simple sugars by sheer chance. There's a hell of a lot of material in there. So here we go. I'll go ahead and read it out to you. According to stellar metamorphosis theory, photosynthesis occurs in the high atmospheres of intermediate-age stars. Since there are no organelles to produce the glucose, as life has not had enough time to evolve and no plants are available, the reaction occurs sporadically and in huge quantities without organization. As the star evolves, the reactions, which are more complex, occur more often as the heavier synthesized molecules sink into the star. Here's a new word for you guys. Chemoclines, which are different levels of different types of chemical reactions and chemistry in a mediating fluid such as water, form inside the atmosphere of the star. Basically, it means you have a big shell of a star, similar to the Goldschmidt classification, where you have different types of elements and you layer it like an onion into the interior of the star. And as material is synthesized and formed, it's heavier, so it sinks, and then it can react with different types of elements and molecules, and it sinks even further. It reacts with different types of elements and molecules in that level too. Now, what the chemoclines are depends on what stage of star or stage of evolution the star is in and how much material is lost. It can get incredibly complex really fast, which is why we need to send out more satellites to those objects to kind of study them and see what's going on in there. It's similar to thermoclines, with which the temperature changes abruptly at intervals and randomly as you go deeper into the ocean. The reaction to form glucose can be organelle-free, meaning basically abiogenic without life involved. Above, the overall equation for photosynthesis is to occur is listed above. It is not mentioned that this process requires organelles, cells, organs, or even has to belong to a larger organism full of a vast array of specific organs. They do not tell you this in first year biology. They say, well, this is the chemical reaction. It's CO2 plus water. You shine light on it, it creates sugar and oxygen. They don't tell you that that process can occur outside of an organelle, or outside of chloroplasts, more specifically. They tell you this is where it happens in chloroplasts, but they don't realize is if you have those chemicals in an atmosphere of a large gas giant, it's gonna happen. You're gonna get those specific combinations happening regardless. It's a simple reaction that can take place without any of the formal organizational structure involved. If carbon dioxide and water are next to each other and light is introduced, they can form sugar and oxygen. Granted, they can also form a vast array of other chemical combinations. No organization is actually required. So of course, if you have carbon dioxide with water next to each other, they're going to make other types of chemicals too when you introduce light. But glucose is going to be one of the byproducts. It's guaranteed. The statistical probability of this occurring is 100% as long as the ingredients are present in large amounts and a light source is present. A good analogy of this is to consider gasoline in a car engine. Sure, the gasoline vapor and air is introduced into a combustion chamber and a spark ignites the mixture, but the engine and chassis are not required. Anybody can take gasoline and light a match and introduce heat to the gas to create the reaction, given the reaction occurs in the air, which contains oxygen as an oxidizer. The same goes with photosynthesis. Plants are not needed to create sugar in large amounts of oxygen. That's a misconception. Photosynthesis can occur outside of a plant. Photosynthesis is just a chemical reaction. It is both a biogenic and biological. So you can have it happen outside of a plant, and obviously it happens inside a plant as well. And finally, as a simple principle or rule of thumb, it can be stated that all the simple organic processes which combine molecules and atoms together were at one time happening in large scales without biological feedback mechanisms. So yeah, you have your plant creating glucose, which is a sugar. It produces sugar. It's not required for that to happen inside a plant. It can happen outside of a plant as well, and in large scales. Granted, the surface area of uranium or the surface area of Neptune or Jupiter or Saturn is way, way, way larger than the Earth. So just think, if it has the elements there, if it has the molecules there, and they get sunlight, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to make a whole hell of a lot of different chemicals. It's basically a giant chemistry experiment. And as well with the previous, with the soon up-and-coming video where Baz shows the mixing atmosphere of Jupiter, you'll see there's a lot of chemistry going on in there. It isn't just hydrogen swirling around. It's a huge chemistry experiment with a whole bunch of different atoms and molecules mixing it together, combining, you name it. Alright, y'all, later.